Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking more about borderline personality disorder, specifically the symptoms splitting and disassociating. I didn't talk about them in my previous video, majorly because I forgot, but I think that they kind of need their own video. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to these two symptoms, so let's get into it. First of all, I just wanted to apologize. I'm feeling extremely unwell today, so I'm going to try my best to have some energy for you, and I'm trying my best to hide it with makeup, but I might be a bit flat in this video, so I do apologize in advance. Okay, so we'll start off with splitting. So what is splitting? It's a symptom where, so the best way I know how to describe it, a person with borderline personality disorder sees everything in black and white, whereas a person without borderline personality disorder or any other mental illness that might create this symptom will see things on a grey scale. They understand that there's an in-between. But for people with BPD, it's one way or the other, and a lot of the time people with BPD will transfer this onto people. So a person will either be really amazing and just like the best person in the world, or really awful and you hate them, and there's just no in between. There's no like, oh, that person's okay, but I don't really want to spend more time with them kind of thing. I know for myself, I only ever think that if it's someone that I don't really know, like very vaguely know, so that I can't really make enough of a judgment on them. But it doesn't take me long to make that judgment, and it's quite unfair on that person because they don't really know what they're dealing with when it comes to people with BPD. Unfortunately, it changes. So a person with BPD might perceive someone as really amazing and perfect, and an hour later, literally like not even an hour, you'll be having a conversation, and within that conversation they've flipped and they've decided that they hate you. And when I say hate, I know it's a very awful, strong word, but it's an accurate description, and I feel ashamed to say it myself because I've had those feelings. You hate the person. You feel sick at the thought of them. Like, it's very dramatic, but it's how it is. Unfortunately, when I know for myself, when I'm splitting, it's very hard for me to be conscious that I'm doing it. And even with being on antidepressants, this is not a symptom that's gone away. It's something, it's just a part of me. And when I am perceiving someone, on one end of the spectrum, I'm really wrapped up in how I feel about them and how they make me feel and what I think about them, and I really believe it. Like, I really believe it, and I feel as though it's grounded in like reality. I really feel as though it's reality, what I'm feeling about them. And sometimes it is, and sometimes, more often than not, unfortunately, it isn't. And this is where sitting on the borderline between neuroticism and being psychotic kind of fits in for me, because I lose touch of reality, especially when I flip and I decide I don't like somebody anymore, and that's putting it lightly. I'm borderline psychotic, and I've had experience with someone close to me who has BPD and they've split on me, and it's an awful experience for the person that it's happening to, who's experiencing that hatred towards them. And I just feel awful knowing that I do that to people, because it's a very distressing feeling. There's no reasoning with a person with BPD when they have split on you. Unfortunately, they have explosive anger and can become very violent and very aggressive. And if they lose touch with reality in an explosive moment, there's no talking them down. Like, I've had moments where I have just collapsed to the ground screaming repeatedly. And I've had moments with my person that I'm close to where they've had that happen to them, and it's terrifying because you can't talk them down. So it's really a destructive symptom. The way I kind of deal with splitting is maintaining conscientiousness to self-reflect on and analyze past moments. And that's hard to do in a healthy manner because it's natural, I think, for everyone to overanalyze situations. But I have a very critical eye upon myself, and really take the time to consider whether or not I was justified in how I was feeling, especially now that I'm aware of my BPD and what I'm doing. But the catch with that is I can't do that until I have emotionally detached from the situation enough to analyze it properly. And that can take months, years. It can take a long time, and by then you've already destructed relationships. And I've just been blessed that the people that are still in my life today persevered and allowed me the time to realize how shitty I was. And I guarantee you, if my friends are watching this, they'll be reflecting on the time I've done it to them. And I apologise if I haven't apologised to you for it, because I know how awful it can be for you. Yeah, it's really hard for me to talk about. I don't really know how to talk about it. It's very upsetting to know how much you can hurt people and know how out of control I am of it. Like, it's really out of my control. It's beyond mental strength. It's a chemical thing, and I hate it. I really do. Another symptom of BPD is dissociation. And I didn't actually know about this until a week ago, and it was like this light bulb moment. I was like, that's what that is. Like, I used to get called Space Cadet or Spacey at work because things just seemed to go over my head. But a lot of the time I was disassociating. So it can take multiple forms. The forms it takes for me, I forget like the actual term, but I kind of have like an out-of-body experience. I feel a bit embarrassed to talk about it, but I'm not, like, I'm there, but I'm not with you. I'm not in the space that you're in. I'm in a different space. And I do this particularly when I'm feeling confronted and I feel like I'm about to split, or I feel rage. I do that a lot because I am trying to protect myself from having a psychotic break, and I'm trying to protect the person from having a psychotic break. So it's safer to disassociate. Well, I thought it was, but unfortunately there are some people that will demand that you hear them. And when I disassociate, I'm not hearing them. And it can become unsafe and violent. Another method of disassociation, it's depersonalization. So this is why borderline personality disorder can often be confused with dissociative identity disorder. So dissociative identity disorder is better known as multiple personality disorder or split personality disorder. And a person with DID will jump into another personality to cope with their trauma as a method of disassociation. But people with BPD will depersonalize themselves. So I know for myself, I have multiple facets of my personality which I will actively engage with more in an attempt to ignore or dismiss the other parts of my personality, if that makes sense. And I think this is what makes it distinct from DID. It's not that I'm a different person. It's kind of like I'm sectioning myself off and closing the door on the other facets of myself and just engaging with one part of myself. And my favorite thing to do is be really hyperactive and fun and seem really happy. And when I say I seem really happy to myself. I think I'm really happy, but then I crash. I become exhausted from it all, and everything that triggered me to do that comes flooding back. So that's depersonalization. Depersonalizing is really frustrating because I have to do it to cope. But to other people, I seem very manipulative, untrustworthy, out of touch. And I don't know who I am. They could see that about me, and that makes me seem unstable and untrustworthy, and I am unstable. But it's a hard one. It's a very sensitive topic for me. I've actually never spoken about it out loud. And it's something that I really debated whether or not I wanted to talk about it, because I didn't want to share this part of myself. And what made me change my mind was that I watched a video last night of another lady with BPD, and she talks about all sorts of symptoms of BPD which I'm not brave enough to talk about yet. And she was owning it and so raw, and it made me feel so much better to know that I wasn't alone. And I know it's so cliche and cheesy, but it's why I'm doing it, because I just hope that somebody watches it and doesn't think they're alone anymore. And it's kind of therapeutic for me too. I should be talking about this with my psychologist, but YouTube's just as good. Well, not just as good, but it's working. I definitely think that there needs to be more research conducted with BPD. The average social circle for each person is 150 people. So if you're in Australia, 2 out of every 100 Australians have BPD. So if you're within the average, you're likely to know 2 people with BPD. So who knows if those are distant people from you, or they could be close people to you. So if you want to know more about BPD, I'll pop some links in the description box from some YouTube videos by MEDCIRCLE, and they're interviewing Dr. Ramani, and she is a clinical psychologist. She's fantastic, and she talks about the 9 symptoms of BPD and how to recognize them and what causes BPD. So if you're interested, definitely follow those links. They're really great interviews and they're not too long either. Anyway, this is a pretty long video, so if you're still here, thanks so much for sticking through this with me. I know it's an intense and pretty flat video because I'm not feeling very well, but I appreciate you taking the time to listen and caring about BPD. There definitely needs to be more awareness about it, but yeah, thanks for watching, and all the best. Bye.